Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Ms. Casaubon? Here. Mr. Lorne? Here. Mr. Richard? Here. Mr. Willie? Here. Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Baggert? Mr. Fitzmaurice? Here. Mr. Doherty? Here. Mr. Drum? Mr. Randolph? Here. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Please turn off all phones and pages. If you'd like to appeal any of the decisions by this commission, we have appeal cards up in front. If you intend on speaking for any of the cases tonight, there's speaker cards up as well. For public speaking, we will grant 10 minutes for each side and 5 minutes for rebuttal. Please stand for the invocation by Commissioner Randolph and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Casaubon.
For all the blessings you bestowed on our lives. We thank you for your grace and mercy and favor that you've placed upon each and every one of us. We thank you for our families, our communities, Lord. We thank you for this parish government and the government that we're under, Lord. We thank you for our commissioners. Lord, we ask that you bless us tonight. Grant us the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding we need to make the right decisions. And Lord, those commissioners that are absent, Lord, we ask that you be with them. Special blessing upon Mr. Kirk and Drum and also Mr. Baggert. And Lord, look upon the sick and shut in here and everywhere. Bless all of our military personnel, law enforcement officers, firefighters and medical personnel, all of our military, Lord. We ask that you be with them. And all these blessings we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If the commissioners have had a chance to review the minutes for February 12th, 2019, I'll take comments on either approval or changes. Commissioner Randolph. Motion to approve the minutes from last month by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Doherty. I have a second by Commissioner Doherty. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Welcome to the public hearing for tonight. Staff, is there any request for postponements?
Yes.
The developer is asked to postpone case number 2019-1351 MSP.
Is that the only one postponed for tonight?
That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Since that's the only one postponed, let's go there immediately. First case, 2019-1351 MSP, a minor subdivision of 20.859 acre parcel into lots A1, A2, and A3. The owner is Crosby Development LLC. The surveyor is J.B. Burks and Associates. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Michael Lorino. General location is the north side of Lake Pontchartrain, west of North Lake Drive, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 4. The person requesting the postponement would like to come up and address and state why the postponement? Yes, sir. Your name and address, please.
John Crosby, representing Crosby Development Company. We had submitted a last-minute change to our plan like yesterday, and apparently the word didn't get to you guys. We thought it did, and we have people here on that case, and rather than kind of go through the changes and all that, I think we were advised by Kara just to go ahead and put it off a month because unfortunately we didn't. It was, like I said, it was last minute change, and you guys didn't get the word. So I think that's probably the best thing to do.
Okay.
What do you think?
All right. Thank you. Can I have a show of hands of the people that are here to hear this case tonight? Okay. Thank you.
I apologize to everyone for that, but it was nothing I thought it was under control. I thought you guys got the word, and we were prepared to address. And it wasn't really that significant of a change, but if it's better that way, so the commissioners can have a better understanding and see the plan before the
Right.
next meeting, that's probably.
There's no
the best.
question, I mean, for us to get something at the very last moment would be fruitful. So it's best to go ahead and probably do
And let me
that.
add that even the people who are here in favor and maybe thought they were not in favor
Sure.
or in favor of the new plan. So I want to know who's all in favor of the new plan.
Well, actually, well, anyway, that's not the point. That's not the point here. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me here. All right, so the gentleman would like to have this case postponed. Is there anybody in the audience would like to support this postponement for tonight?
Yes, sir.
No, you don't have to raise your hand, but that's fine.
And I'll speak of the Lewisburg Civic Association, adjoining neighbors. Mr. Crosby did make these accommodations to us, and so if it helps to postpone it,
Please,
yes.
well, I'll tell you what, please come on up and state your name and address and
Sure.
tell us why you're making a recommendation to postpone as well.
Thank you, sir. I'm Cove Geary. I'm a lawyer. I represent the Lewisburg Civic Association, and I'm also a resident of Lewisburg and Mandeville at 149 Mulberry Avenue in Mandeville. And Mr. Crosby, both Mr. Crosbys have met with our Civic Association and heard our concerns about extension of a road developing into the wetlands and into the Bayou Chinchuba floodplain beyond his properties. And so he agreed to pull the road back so that it's into the second of his 3 lots. And he's only developing 2. So it made that as an accommodation to us. I think he sent it to Mr. Fontenot on Monday, and apparently it didn't get to the commission.
Okay.
So
Thank you
that's it.
very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Is there anybody in the audience who wants to speak against this postponement? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Doherty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Based on Mr. Crosby's request to postpone for 1 month, I will put that in the form of a motion to postpone for 1 month.
I have a motion to postpone for 1 month by Commissioner Doherty. Commissioner Lauren.
I'll second it.
I have a second by Commissioner Lauren. Any more discussion? If not, please vote. And this is for postponement till next month.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Case number 20, and if individuals want to leave in the audience, that's fine, go ahead. I'll give you a little time. Thank you. Please continue out. Please continue out, so the noise, thank you. Okay, case number 2019-1381 MSP, a minor subdivision of parcel B into parcels B1, B2, B3, B4, B5. The owner is Virginia Reddig. Surveyor is Land Surveying LLC. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Richard Tanner. Its general location is west of Bob Levy Road, north of LA Highway 435, Bush, Ward 6, District 6. Staff, comments?
The applicant is proposing to create 5 parcels from a 27.26 acre parent parcel. The property was a part of a minor subdivision approved September in 2017, therefore requires a public hearing. All of the proposed parcels meet the minimum requirements of Chapter 125, 188 Minor Subdivision Review. Staff has no objection to the request, subject to the below comments. The plat must be amended to include a signature line for the chairman of the Planning Commission.
All right, thank you. Is the person requesting the subdivision here? Yes, ma'am.
Anybody have any questions?
And please state your name and address.
Marlene Mosley, the Realtor. My address is the address for the property or mine?
Okay, and you're in
Probably be,
agreement with everything that's being subdivided?
yes.
Or requesting, okay. Is there anybody in the audience against this subdivision? Minor subdivision review? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Casabon,
I'll make a motion to approve.
have a motion
Yes,
to
sir,
approve. by Commissioner Casabon. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Commissioner Darty.
I just have a question for staff. Since I saw in the notes that this went through minor subdivision September 2017, the same piece of property, how many times can a given piece of property go through minor subdivision?
Well, they can go through the minor subdivision process however many times they apply for it, but it has to go to a public hearing after it's already been approved administratively one time. So because,
But if it goes below the current zoning, then it has to come through zoning first before it comes
correct,
to here.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Casabon and a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Case 2019-1384 MSP, a minor subdivision of 20.15 acre parcel and Live Oak Hills Lot 4 into parcel A and B. The owner is Justin and Tara Matacek and Kyle and Shailene Matthews. Surveyor is Land Surveying LLC. Parish Council District is the Honorable Marty Dean. The general location is north of Adrian Street, east of Catherine Drive, west of LA Highway 1085, Madisonville, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to parcel A not having public road frontage and being accessed by a 35-foot access servitude. The original 20.15 acre parcel was granted the servitude of passage by the previous owner of Lot 4 in January of 2017. The petitioners are requesting to subdivide the 20.15 acre parcel into a 15.15 acre parcel and incorporate a 5 acre parcel into Lot 4 of Live Oak Hill subdivision. Parcel A does not meet the minimum lot frontage of 200 feet of A1A and requires a waiver of the regulations by the Planning Commission. A 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission is needed to approve pursuant to Chapter 125-224 waiver of the regulations. If approved, the plat shall be amended to include the following: a signature line for the chairman of the Planning Commission, and per 911, the road name should be revised to Adrian Street.
Thank you. Is the person who's requesting this here? Please come up. Yes, sir, your name and address?
Kyle Matthews, and I'm the owner of the 20.15 acres.
Okay, and what's the reason for the request?
I own the 20.15 acres, and they approached me. They want more land to split them off 5 acre parcel.
Okay,
So we went to the planning and said, what do they need to do? So they bought Lot 4. So they want to own Lot 4 and make it to 5.5
okay.
acres.
Is there anybody in the audience want to speak against this case? Okay, if not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
I have a question. Since it's, Lot 4 is part of the a subdivision, Part A, will it be part of the subdivision too?
No, sir.
Okay, so it will not be, even though it fronts and it's part of Lot 4 now, right?
No, sir.
It's just an easement to get to it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner Doherty.
On this, how do you plan on getting access or giving access to the 10.15 acres that would be on the rear of the property if this goes through? I mean, you're
Be
going,
using the 35-foot servitude.
so you're gonna take that all the way back to parcel A?
Yes, sir. Well, once you get past the front, it widens out to 100 and something feet after that.
158.87 is what it shows.
Yes, sir.
So you're gonna, the 5 acres is gonna be out of the the very back part?
Yes, sir, the 15.15 acres will be accessed by the 35 feet in the front.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Randolph.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve with the waiver.
With the waiver?
With the waiver.
I have a
And
motion.
also just to make sure that we determine how many ends are in Adrian. Yeah, the plat is showing one end,
Oh,
and everything else is showing two, so.
okay. Well,
That was per 911's comment, so 911 has requested that it's Adrian with two ends, so.
Good for me. That's right.
I have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve with the waiver. Commissioner Casabon.
I'll second that motion.
I have a second to motion. Now,
waiver.
just as a reminder, since we only have 8 of us on this board tonight, all 8 would have to approve the waiver, just to let you know. Please vote. I mean, all 8 would have to approve yes for the waiver to take place.
Motion carries with a waiver.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're lucky. That was a tight one. Okay, next one is a 2019-1388 MSP, a minor subdivision of 792.43 acre parcel into parcels A, B, and C. The owner is Weyerhaeuser Company, surveyor is Randall W. Brown and Associates. Parish Council District is the Honorable Steve Stefanczyk, and the general location is east of LA Highway 434, south of LA Highway 36, and north of Interstate 12, Lacombe, Ward 7, District 11. Staff?
The petitioner is requesting to create 3 parcels from a 792-acre parent parcel. Parcel A and Parcel B do not have public road frontage. The minor subdivision regulations require a private drive to be constructed if more than one parcel is accessed by a servitude. The access servitude provided is the location of Legends Boulevard, which is currently under construction. After construction is complete, the boulevard will be dedicated to St. Tammany Parish. The petitioner is requesting a waiver of the private drive requirements and the road frontage requirements due to the future dedication of Legends Boulevard. The following notes shall be added to the plat to ensure the maintenance of servitudes until the time of the boulevard is dedicated to the parish. Number 1, maintenance of the drainage, utility, and access servitude, which extends from Louisiana Highway 434 across Parcel C, shall be the responsibility of the owner of Parcel C until the roadway and associated infrastructure located within the Parcel C servitude is duly dedicated to the parish of St. Tammany and accepted into the St. Tammany Parish Road Maintenance System. Maintenance of the drainage, utility, and access servitude, which extends across Parcel B and into Parcel A, shall be the responsibility of the owner of Parcel B until there is dedicated vehicular access to Parcel A over and across Parcel B.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I represent the owner-developer Weyerhaeuser and appreciate the opportunity to present this case to you this evening. This is Tammany, and I'm happy to say that the wheels of progress are in place, and Tammany continues to make significant strides forward to become a functioning and valuable part of our community. Tonight, as you can see from the plat, we are creating a minor subdivision which will allow us to have large tracts that we can sell to third parties so that each of those tracts can then go through your subdivision process in order to develop the tracts in question. A couple of things I would bring to your attention. Number 1, the 2 requested notes that are asked to be added to the plat were in full concurrence. In fact, those notes have already been added, and drafts will be submitted at the appropriate time to staff. Lastly, with regard to the private servitude issue, if you'll look at the plat, you can pick up where Legends Boulevard will be coming off of Highway 434. That will, in fact, be the physical access. Legends Boulevard is well under construction, soon to be finished in approximately 30 to 40 days, at which time we will, of course, that road will meet all public requirements, public standards, if you will, and it will be dedicated to the parish as a public road. So we believe that setting it up at this point with the private servitude is really just an interim or bridge until we can complete construction and then tender it at the appropriate time to the parish for dedication. So with that having been said, we would appreciate your consideration of a waiver as indicated in the staff report. Again, with us adding the notes that have been requested. If any of you have any questions or concerns, I'll be glad to address them at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Is anybody in the audience want to speak in favor of this minor subdivision? Anybody in the audience want to speak against? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Make a motion to approve with the waiver
Okay.
of the private drive.
I have a motion to approve with the waiver by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Richard. I have a second by Commissioner Richard. Commissioner Lauren?
Looking at the survey where the road crosses the wetlands, will it be necessary to build a bridge there?
No, sir, we have a crossing, probably a nationwide permit. No, sir, it's not necessary.
Okay.
Oh, okay, thank you. I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Randolph with the waiver and seconded by Commissioner Richard. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 2019-1389 MSP, a minor subdivision of a 4-acre parcel into parcel A1 and A2. The owner is Kerry Crevetta. The surveyor is Land Surveying LLC. The Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Richard Tanner. Its general location is east of Sharp Chapel Road, southeast of LA Highway 40, Bush Ward 2, District 6. Staff?
Parcel A was a part of a minor subdivision approved in 2009, therefore a public hearing is required. A zoning change was requested and approved in order for the parcel to be subdivided. Therefore, staff has no objection to the request, subject to the following. Survey is amended to include the signature line for chairman of the planning commission.
Okay. Anyone here in the audience want to speak in favor of the case or the representative? Yes, sir. Your name and address, please.
Kerry Corvetto. My present address is 2516 Fazio Road, Chalmette, Louisiana.
And you're just willing to subdivide this into two acre lots?
Yes, I was going to build a house for myself and my daughter, which separate the property.
Thank you. Is anybody in the audience in favor of this case or against this case? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Casabon. Commissioner Willie. Second. I have a second by Commissioner Willie. No more discussion? Please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Case 2019-1391 MSP, a minor subdivision of parcel A1 into parcel A12, A13, and A14. The owner is Randall and Rhonda Roth. The surveyor is Land Surveying LLC. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable James Thompson. General location is bisected by Green Thumb Lane, east of North Willie Road, north of LA Highway 1077, south of LA Highway 40 in Folsom, Ward 2, District 3. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 3 parcels from a 27.26 acre parcel. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to the following. Parcel A12 does not meet the minimum road frontage of 300 feet. Parcel A14 does not have public road frontage and is also accessed by a 30-foot servitude. And the parcel was also a part of a previously approved minor subdivision. Staff has no objection to the request, subject to the following. Green Thumb Road is not parish-owned, however, it's a tacit dedication, making it parish-maintained. Therefore, the applicant will need to get approval from 911 for the name Green Thumb Lane. A waiver of the minimum public road frontage was granted for parcel A1 at the 2016 hearing. A waiver request shall be also be provided for A1-2, as it does not meet the minimum road frontage of 300 feet. The proposed 30-foot access servitude shall be moved to the southern side of parcel A12 to grant access to parcel A14.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Yes, ma'am. Come on up and state your name and address.
Rhonda Roth, 80456 North Willie Road, Folsom.
And you understand those three items that the staff listed below?
Wait, do I understand what?
The three items in which the staff's below's comments about notifying and make sure you can get Green Thumb Lane on the road through 911?
Right, I got that.
Okay. And of course, you will have to receive a waiver for that. Okay.
How do I, you'll tell me how to do
Well, that's what we're gonna be doing.
that? Okay.
Well, that's what we're gonna be
Okay.
suggesting, anyway. All right. But thank you. Is anybody in the audience want to speak against or for this case? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, these are still the larger lots and stuff. I'll make a motion to approve
With the waiver?
with the waiver.
I have a motion to approve with the waiver by Commissioner Casabon. Commissioner Randolph. I have a second by Commissioner Randolph. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries with waiver.
Thank you. Case 2019-1394 MSP, minor subdivision of a 3.1 acre parcel into parcels A and B. The owner is Kylie Pelago. Surveyor is Land Survey LLC. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Riker Toledano. General location is west of Rucker Road, north of Sharp Road, west of LA Highway 59, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 5. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create two parcels from a 3.1 acre parcel. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to parcel A not having public road frontage and being accessed via a 20-foot access servitude. The two proposed parcels meet the minimum requirements of Chapter 125-188 minor subdivision review. Staff has no objection to the request, subject to the following. The plat must be amended to include a signature line for the chairman of the planning commission.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Palago, and I'm 121 Rucker Road, Mandeville.
Okay. And you just requesting this subdivide.
Yes.
All right. Is anybody in the audience in favor of this? Against this, would like to comment? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission.
All right. Y'all's turn.
Commissioner Doherty.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve with the waiver.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Doherty with waiver. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No petitions to request, no re-subdivision reviews, no dormant subdivision review. Now we go to tentative subdivision review. 2019-1392 TP, Lakeshore Villages Phase 5. Owner developer is D.R. Horton, Inc., Gulf Coast. Surveyor is Acadia Land Surveying, LLC. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Michelle Blanchard. The general location is north of Oak Harbor Road, west of LA Highway 433, east of Interstate 10, Slidell, Ward 9, District 13. Staff?
Yes, sir. The tentative plan has been reviewed by this office, and an inspection was made of the site on February 27, 2019. It is recommended that the tentative submittal be approved, subject to the following. A waiver of the minimum driveway requirement is being requested for lot number 1142. In order to approve this waiver request, a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission is needed pursuant to section 125-224.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, for the record, Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, representing the owner-developer D.R. Horton. We concur with the staff report. We appreciate your consideration of grant of tentative subdivision approval. With regard to the waiver in question, DDG has provided me with a nice drawing of Lot 442. And I would point to your attention that actually our driveway is 54.44 feet from the intersection, but the actual linear distance from the drive to the back of the curb is 67.69 feet. So we're within 10% of the requirement, but in fact, from back of curb, we exceeded. So we hope that that would help in your consideration of the waiver this evening.
Thank you. Is anybody in the audience want to speak in favor of this tentative review? Or against? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Doherty.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve this with the waiver.
I have a motion to approve with the waiver by Commissioner Doherty. Commissioner Lauren. I have a second by Commissioner Lauren.
No, question.
So I'm sorry, I thought you said second.
Yes, sir.
Jeff, looking at the drawing that we had, it looks like there are several other lots, like 1135, 1136, 1132, 35, 54. I want to make sure we cover them all. If we don't,
We believe we looked at it carefully and don't think we need any further waivers. Did staff disagree? I appreciate you bringing that to my attention and our attention.
what I'm saying is that these are, 42 is a corner lot, and there are at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 similar.
Can I respond?
I will when I get the plat.
The only one they were actually requested was 1142.
I
And the
understand
one,
that's
the
what they're
ones that you're
requesting,
required,
but what I'm saying is, I don't want them to request one and get permission for one, and there's 4 others that we should have included.
no, and I understand your question, and the response is that the other lots can be side-loaded.
And we're
And meet
comfortable,
the
we are
60-foot
comfortable
distance.
side-loading those lots and do not need the waiver, or do not request the waiver.
Well,
If
if
you
they
have
can be
4
side-loaded, why can't 1142 be side-loaded?
Well, because at 1142, as I suggested earlier, we're within 10% of the 60 feet, but in fact, to back of curb, we're actually 10% more. So we didn't think it was unreasonable to request on 1142.
These are actually a little longer. That's a little longer than this one.
Okay, okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
No, I appreciate it. And if you have a few waivers that I can take with me, that's like, wait a minute, that's like mulligans. I promise I won't use them till I need them. Thank you.
In that case, I'll second the motion.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Doherty with the waiver and a second by Commissioner Lauren. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries with waiver.
Thank you. Next, we go into preliminary subdivision review. 2019-1358 PP. Maison Trace, developer owner is First Horizon, Inc. Engineer is T. Baker Smith, LLC. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Riker Toledano. General locations, north side of Strain Road, east of LA Highway 59, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 5. This was postponed from last month's meeting. Staff, your comments?
Yes, sir. This project was postponed at the February 12th, 2019 meeting. The preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office, and an inspection was made of the site on January 29th, 2019. It is recommended that preliminary submittal be approved, subject to the following. Number 1, an Army Corps permit for this development needs to be provided. Number 2, Gravity Drainage District Number 5 review and approval needs to be provided. Number 3, the Giselle Drive address for lot number 35 needs to be revised to 22088. Number 4, proposed swales in the rear of lots must not exceed a 3-to-1 side slope. revised plans and details to address this conflict. Informational items, a funded maintenance obligation, the amount of $10,000 is required in accordance with St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances. Funded letters of credit for the existing parish roads to ensure the repair of any damage to the parish roads resulting from construction in connection with the subdivision. An additional maintenance obligation, the amount of 1,436 linear feet at $5 per linear foot of water line, and 627 linear feet at $5 per linear foot of sewer line, and 3 jack and bores at $5,000 per bore, for a total of $25,300 is required for the construction of the water and sewer line within the Strain Road and Marion Lane right-of-way to ensure the repair of any damage to the parish roads from construction activity in connection with installation of the water and sewer lines. Mandatory developmental fees will be required at final submittal in accordance with St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 125, since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. The developer is hereby advised that upon application for final subdivision approval, the engineer of record for this development shall certify in writing that all aspects of construction have been completed in accordance with the approved plans of parish ordinances. If any construction activity is proposed that is not in substantial compliance with the approved plans, parish ordinances, the engineer of record for this development shall notify in writing the Department of Development prior to beginning said construction activity. The developer and/or engineer of record shall obtain written approval from the Department of Development prior to beginning any proposed construction activity that is not in substantial conformance with the approved plans of parish ordinances. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the March 12, 2019 Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Jeff Shane, Jones Fussell, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I represent the owner-developer, First Horizon, Inc. We're in full accord with all staff comments. All items that require any form of action will be undertaken by us. We ask that you grant approval this evening, and again, subject to the conditions that are before you. If any of you have any questions, I'll be glad to address them.
Thank you. Anybody in the public would like to speak about this case? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Doherty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would put a motion on the floor to approve with the, was there any waivers? Yeah, with the waivers.
Is there a waiver?
And I'd like to comment too, on this one and the previous one, for the number of items that are here. This is the way I like to see these come to the commission and not with 25 items that need a lot of work on. Thank you.
Okay, I don't believe there is a waiver on this one, but you still make a motion to approve, correct? So I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Doherty. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I'll second, and I'll too commend the developer on the very short list of items.
I have a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 2019-1393 PP, Lakeshore Villages Phase 4B. Owner developer is D.R. Horton, Inc., Gulf Coast. Surveyor is Katie Land Surveying, LLC. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Michelle Blanchard. General locations north of Oak Harbor Road, west of LA Highway 433, east of Interstate I-10, Slidell, Ward 9, District 13. Staff?
The preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office. An inspection was made of the site on February 27th, 2019. It is recommended that preliminary submittal be approved, subject to the following comments. 1, the lot numbers shown on the preliminary plat differ from the lot numbers shown on the other plan sheets in the submittal. Revise the plans to eliminate the number of conflicts in the plan set. And 2, a fire hydrant needs to be added between lots number 935 and 936. Revise the water and sewer plan to reflect this. Informational items. No funded maintenance obligation is required since this is a community development district owned and maintained subdivision. No mandatory developmental fee is required at final submittal in accordance with St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 125, since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. The developer is hereby advised that upon application for final subdivision approval, the engineer of record for this development shall certify in writing that all aspects of construction have been completed in accordance with the approved plans of parish ordinances. If any construction activity is proposed that is not in substantial compliance with the approved plans of parish ordinances, the engineer of record for this development shall notify in writing the Department of Development prior to beginning said construction activity. The developer and/or engineer of record shall obtain written approval from the Department of Development prior to beginning any proposed construction activity that is not in substantial conformance to the approved plans and parish ordinances. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the March 12, 2019 meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Jeff Shane, Jones Fussell, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I represent D.R. Horton, the owner-developer. We're in full accord with staff comments, and we'll take the actions that they have suggested in the staff report, and we would appreciate you grant a preliminary subdivision approval at this time.
Thank
Any of you have any questions, you know where I am.
Anybody in the public who would like to speak on this case? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph. I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Case 2019-1395 PP, The Preserve at Goodby Lakes. Developer owner is D.R. Horton, Inc., Gulf Coast. Engineer is Quality Engineering and Surveying. The Parish Council District is Representative Honorable James Thompson. General locations northeast side of LA Highway 1077, East Tantilla Ranch Road, north of US Highway 190, Covington, Ward 1, District 3. Staff?
Thank you, sir. This project was postponed at the following meetings: June 12, 2018, July 10, 2018, August 14, 2018, and September 11, 2018. This project was also postponed indefinitely at the October 9, 2018, and December 11, 2018 meetings. The subdivision plans have been revised to comply with St. Tammany Parish field ordinances. The preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office. An inspection was made of the site on February 27, 2019. It is recommended that preliminary submittal be approved, subject to the following. Comment number 1, LADOTD approval needs to be provided for the changing of the culvert size and for the pond outfall discharging to the Highway 1077 roadside ditch. 2, LADOTD approval and required permits for the proposed right turn lane of Highway 1077 need to be provided. 3, the construction access for this development must be from Highway 1077. Tantilla Ranch Road cannot be used as means for construction access. 4, a waiver of the 60-foot driveway requirement is being requested to reduce the distance required to 30 feet for all applicable lots in this development. Staff is not in favor and sees no compelling reason for this waiver, as all lots that do not meet the 60-foot requirement on the front of the lot can be side-loaded to meet the requirement. However, should the Planning Commission wish to approve this waiver, a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission is needed pursuant to Section 125-244. 5, a waiver of the subdivision regulations prohibiting dead-end streets is being requested for this development in multiple locations. Staff is not in favor of this waiver, as roadways with no means of a dedicated turnaround pose safety concerns. However, should the Planning Commission wish to approve this waiver, a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission is needed pursuant to Section 125-244. 6, revise the development acreage table to accurately list the green space area as described in the response to the previous green space comments. 7, provide a detail showing the required driveway location for lot number 9 being accessed via the T turnaround. 8, multiple lots propose a 5-foot side setback. This setback is in conflict with the required 10-foot drainage servitudes. Revise the side setback for these lots to eliminate this conflict and provide a note in the lot setback table on the plat for all affected lots. Number 9, 911 addresses and road name verification still need to be completed and approved by 911 addressing. Number 10, numerous proposed servitudes do not meet St. Tammany Parish minimum servitude width requirements. Revise non-conforming servitudes to meet minimum servitude width requirements, or revise the dedication statement to a private subdivision. Number 11, revise the common area dedication to state the homeowners association is responsible for the operation and maintenance of all green spaces and amenities, including any repair or replacement of amenities located within a dedicated drainage servitude as a result of St. Tammany Parish maintenance. Number 12, relocate the overflow weir for Pond 2 to not discharge onto adjacent lots. Consider relocating to the preserved wetlands abutting Pond 2. 13, dimensions for Pond 2 weir and plan conflict with dimensions used to model Pond 2 outfall. Revise conflict. 14, remove the fire hydrant from the 25-foot pond access servitude between lots 39 and 40. 15, Pond 1 outfall needs to be further analyzed and discussed with staff. DIS may need to be updated and revised in order to reflect the final outfall design of Pond 1. Informational items, no funded maintenance obligation is required since access from a parish-maintained road is not allowed. Mandatory developmental fees will be required at final submittal in accordance with St. Tammany Code of Ordinances, Chapter 125, since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. The developer is hereby advised that upon application for final subdivision approval, the engineer of record for this development shall certify in writing that all aspects of construction have been completed in accordance with the approved plans of parish ordinances. If any construction activity is proposed that is not in substantial compliance with the approved plans of parish ordinances, the engineer of record for this development shall notify in writing the Department of Development prior to beginning said construction activity. The developer and/or engineer of record shall obtain written approval from the Department of Development prior to beginning any proposed construction activity that is not in substantial compliance with the approved plans of parish ordinances. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the March 12th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Thank you. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I represent D.R. Horton, the owner and developer, and I would like to start off the conversation by saying that this is a case, as was noted in staff comments, that came to you back in June and obviously has been around for a long time. We are proud of the fact that the comments that come to you this evening do not suggest any deficiencies as it relates to our meeting the detention requirements or the fill mitigation requirements. As I told you maybe in the last meeting when we requested that this be placed on the agenda, my client would endeavor to meet the current interpretation of the fill mitigation ordinance, which they've done, which has resulted in some significant changes in the plan. So before I address each one of the items individually, I would like to bring a few things to your attention globally, and we've given you a handout, which I assume all of you have this evening. So I'd like to at least identify what I've given you so that hopefully it will help you understand. Page 1 being the current option is the plan that was submitted to staff, and that is, of course, the plan of which the staff comments were generated from. If you would go to the third page, you will see that that is the previous plan, if you will, and that's the one, say, for example, that would have been before you in June of 2018 had the case been presented. Notice a significant difference as it relates to the number of lots, the amount of green space, et cetera. And then I'd like you to also look at the last page, which is the alternate option. The reason that you and staff are seeing this evening for the first time is that this was further response to staff comments. We understand that it's inappropriate for us to submit this alternate option to staff because they don't have time to look at these things after they get staff comments out. But we thought that if we provided this to you graphically this evening, it may give you an understanding of some of the details that I'm now going to go through as it relates to the staff comments. While we're looking at the alternate option, a couple of observations that I think you should be conscious of. I believe that when this PUD was originally approved, it was in excess of 150 lots, 150, 170, somewhere in that range. You will see that we're now down to 66 lots. You will also see that of the 75 acres in this development, 40 acres of the 75 are preserved wetlands, green space areas. So this has really become a conservation development of sorts. If you take a look at what was on the drawing board way back when and what is there now. As a result of shrinking the number of lots and meeting the good requirements that your code has and that staff certainly has enforced, it requires us to ask you to consider accommodating us in a couple of issues, which I'll now go through in greater detail. So maybe if we want to go back to the staff comments and start with the general comments, items 1 through 3 we understand and agree with, and I do not believe that those should be problematic. I will come back to items 4 and 5, the 2 waiver items, because I think they can be discussed more appropriately a little later. Items 6, 7, 8, and 9, we all agree to and have done or will do, meaning that we have no concern objection to staff comment and believe that we can do the things that staff has required and clarify that. I'm going to also defer on item 10 for just a minute. Item 11 is not a problem, nor would the necessity of relocating the weir in item 12, and also reconciling the dimensions, the conflict of dimensions in item 13. Likewise, no problem with item 14. As to item 15, our engineer spoke, I think, with Mr. Reynolds yesterday, and it's my understanding that maybe we're going to be getting some more information from the parish as to item 15. So as it relates to their concern, the only thing that I can tell you is that when we get that information from them, we're committed to sitting down with them and resolving that issue. So with those things having been said, the things that I think we need to address would be items 4, 5, and 10. 4 and 5 being waiver items, and 10 being the servitude issue. And I'll take a crack at number 10 first. Number 10 refers to the servitude widths, and it's primarily the rear servitude of 10 feet along lots 30 through 39, and also 40 and 41. And also, there are probably other lots that have that same 10-foot rear drainage servitude as well. I see it, yes, behind lots, say, 1 through 3, et cetera. What we propose, as is much the case with the language suggested in comment 11, we would like to have the plat indicate that the homeowners association would be responsible for the operation and maintenance of these drainage servitudes, private servitudes to the rear of the lots, that these would obviously not become public or dedicated servitudes. And the reason so is that the requirements as it relates to public servitudes, if it's an open ditch or swale, are typically 15 feet on one side, 5 feet on the other. And if the mouth of the ditch is 5 to 10 feet in width with a 3-to-1 sloping, you can soon get to as much as maybe 30 feet in width. Many of these lots are only, I think the prototype is about 115 feet in depth. So you can imagine the practical problems a 30-foot public servitude to the rear would present to us on a 115-foot deep lot. Please bear in mind, and I don't mean to whine or cry, but this is a subdivision that we have taken and shrunk, if you will, into the non-wet areas so that we could expand the detention and fill mitigation areas to make sure that we complied with the letter of the law. And in doing that, it's required us to be efficient as it relates to the number of lots and the size of the lots. So in particular, as it regards to comment 10, we would suggest that the servitudes to the rear of the lots be private servitudes, and that they would specifically be under the obligation of the homeowners association to operate and maintain, so that the parish would not have that obligation in any way. Now I'm going to talk about items 4 and 5. And I think with item 4, that is the driveway location requirement, similar to the waiver case that I had earlier this evening. I will assist you by telling you the lots in question where we would appreciate the waivers. And if you're looking again, it might be better to go to the 4th page of this packet and stay there, because that's really what is, I think, the best tool as I'm talking about items 4 and 5. If you'll take a look at lots 5, 6, 14, 20, 23, 29, 60, 56, and 42. Those are the 9 lots where we're seeking the waiver. Yes, sir. I'm starting kind of from the north side, lots 5 and 6 up by Goodby Preserve Lane, lots 14 and 20 across the street from each other, 23 a little further to the south, then going to the east, lots 29 and 60, and then lots 56 and 42. And what I'd like to do at this point is before I end the discussion about the driveway waiver, I think it's a good time to segue into the fifth waiver, because I see a relationship between the two to some extent. And the fifth waiver is with regard to what had been the dead ends or the T'd intersections. And that's why I want you to look, if you're able to do it, you might want to peek at the first page, tuck it in such a manner that you can see the first page, but also see the fourth page. And I'd like you to look at the area on the fourth page, if you will, where we have lots 18, 19, and 20. And I'd like you to look at the difference in this alternate option from what we initially proposed. And hopefully you can see, if I haven't made this too confusing, the way the lots were configured before, we have now extended, if you will, lot 19.
Mr. Shane, I'll grant you another 3 minutes.
Okay.
It's already been 10 minutes.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Maybe this is my rebuttal time. We've extended lot 19, as you can see, across further to the south. That's a significant difference. So now take a look at how 18 and 19 configure. We have also done the same thing down by lots 40 and 41. You see how 41 now extends across the road? So I'm not suggesting to you that a waiver is not needed as it relates to item 4 and 5. I'm only suggesting that we have done the best we can to create this interrelationship. And I think what further emphasizes why the subdivision is tight and why I think there might be good consideration for the waiver, if you look at the contrast between page 1 and page 4 as to the size of the lake and the pond, the excavation area, I mean, it's dramatically different. You can see where the lots have disappeared. And so as a result of that, we have done the best planning that we can. We do not believe that the waivers we request suggest a compromise of safety or convenience in any way to the public. And we believe that waivers of this type have not only been granted in the past, but they're pretty typical in other jurisdictions, because we're not talking about a long run there. Now, I realize staff is only seeing this for the first time this evening, so we may have to see what their thoughts are. So with that having been said, and hopefully not having used all of my 3 minutes, we ask that you grant preliminary this evening, subject to the 2 waiver items. Thank you much.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience want to speak in favor of this? Anybody in the audience want to speak against this? Please come up, state your name and address, and your comments, please.
Thank you. Dr. John Martin. I'm from the Good Beef Civic Association, and this is right in our area. Address is 12375 Ark Road. This particular subdivision is, and I appreciate what Jeff has done, the narrowing of this thing down, the removing of some of the homes. The problem is, right now, I am part of a parish work group that is working on Ordinance 6066. Ordinance 66 has to do with fill and water control. And as Jeff said, this particular development has reduced itself down to 66 homes and has gone along with the ordinance as it is now. We're still working on that ordinance. And that ordinance, we're probably going to vote on it next month and present it to the council for the council to accept or not to accept what we have been working on since the beginning of the year. I think I've sent all of y'all a letter, and I hope everybody got it, but I've sent everybody a letter explaining that I think we're a little premature in getting this particular subdivision started until the ordinance that is ruling this subdivision gets finalized by the council. It may well have changed. There are problems with this particular subdivision that haven't been addressed. There are people on Tantella Ranch Road that, there's still one of them, that the agreement was that they will turn their houses inward to where the subdivision is, and their driveway will be there rather than to have curb cuts all along Tantella Ranch Road. There is no provision for this in this subdivision. These people have built their, one in particular, there's 4 of them already have built facing the subdivision away, and their back is to Tantella, so that the kids, when they go to school, the school bus isn't on a busy street, or the cars are coming out on a busy street. We haven't solved that problem yet. There is one a little north of the road that's there now that has no road in front of it. And these people have built their house facing inward. So right now, their front of their house faces the woods, and it may face the woods forever. I don't know if there's changes that we can do with that. We need to work on it. I need to see the plot along with everybody that lives in that area. It needs to see the plot. It affects them all. And so far, that hasn't been available to us. And considering the fact that we're working on the ordinance that, as Jeff said, they have shrunk this to get it in compliance with the ordinance that is there now. The reason there was this delay is they were hoping that the ordinance would not be interpreted as it's being interpreted, and as it's going to go to the council. So therefore, they have complied with the ordinance as they're interpreting it now, but we don't know if that's where it's going to be when we bring it in front of the council. So I would suggest it's been delayed, and we're finishing up with the work group is finishing up with it, and we'll be voting on it. I'm pretty sure we're going to be voting on it next month and then presenting it to the council. And all I'm asking, it's been delayed this long, is that you delay it until we've finished our work, and that we don't approve something that, if we had waited, would have had to have been different. Plus, you've got a lot of things that obviously need to be corrected in this. It isn't like they have 2 or 3 things they need to change. So basically, that's, and I appreciate the time, and I would ask you just to delay this and let the work group that's been working on this finish this ordinance before we look at this particular subdivision. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Doctor.
Do y'all have any questions of what I've said?
Not yet.
Pretty straightforward? Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm Matthew Allen, 13058 Major Lane, Folsom, Louisiana, and President of Litchfield River Association. And first off, having the new plats given to y'all today, or whatever he gave y'all, doesn't give the public an opportunity to effectively comment on it. That right there should be reason enough to postpone this. Second, he made a comment to have the homeowners associations take care of the drainage servitudes, get around that servitude part. That's an unfair extra tax to these homeowners. It's going to add to their homeowners' fees to have to maintain these things. And they already pay taxes for drainage. This should be a parish requirement, and actually it is. In St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances 125-23, general provisions. A subdivision or re-subdivision of land must be compatible with major street plans, ... Necessary rights of way for any proposed road, street shown on the major street plan or rights of way for construction and maintenance of necessary proposed or existing drainage channels through the proposed subdivision must be formally dedicated in perpetuity to the public through the parish council. So they don't really have a right to take them over themselves. And this could affect outside the subdivision. If these degrade and then the homeowners don't have the money to fix it, that's going to hurt the other homeowners surrounding it. There's some other issues with this. First off, I'd like to point out that while they've applied for the wetland permit through the Army Corps of Engineers and water quality certification through DEQ, neither one of these permits have been approved at this point. Those should be approved before you all approve the preliminary subdivision. Also, this is a known flood hazard area. We've had 5 floods above the 30-foot base flood elevation at the 190 gauge here. You can expect flooding up to or above 2 feet above what they say on the FEMA flood maps here. That is recorded history through the USGS stream gauges. Also, there is a minimum standard that FEMA requires for the parish to receive the flood insurance. And one of these requirements is 44 CFR 63.3C, number 10. Require that until a regulatory floodway is designated, that no new construction, substantial improvements, or other development, including fill, shall be permitted within the zones A1 through 30 and AE on the community's firm, unless it is demonstrated that the cumulative effect of the proposed development, when combined with all other existing and anticipated development, will not increase the water surface elevation of the base flood more than 1 foot at any given point in the community. That's a requirement that's required to be enforced for St. Tammany Parish to receive federally subsidized flood insurance for all the residents. And this is also in the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, number 115-70, number 9. Almost the exact same wording, because it's required by FEMA for our flood insurance to be in our ordinances. And this study must follow FEMA-approved backstep models for water elevations. With all the other planned subdivisions, and there's some big ones planned here, all on fill that are going to block these flood flows and redirect them to other places. There are residents that did not flood in 16 by an inch. So you must do this study. And actually, the residents of the area are demanding the effects of these subdivisions to be studied on the flood heights. And again, this is a requirement from the federal government and also listed in the Parish Code of Ordinances. First off, with all the new stuff, this should be postponed at least 1 month. And second, this study needs to be done. Are these developments going to increase flood heights? Do you really want to be responsible for having that flood water come up another 6 inches or a foot and flood people that have never flooded before? Because we blocked off the overflow from the Tchefuncte Basin into the Tangipahoa Basin. The Bonacary spillway of St. Tammany goes right through 1077 and this area. So thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Shane? You have 5 minutes on your rebuttal time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I find it interesting. It took us from June to March to get back to you, redesign this subdivision. And I want staff to interrupt and correct me if I misstate, but staff has made no comments as it relates to the design of our detention or as it relates to the fill mitigation plan that we've presented for this subdivision. So now it sounds like that Dr. Martin and Mr. Allen weren't satisfied because they felt that our interpretation heretofore was inappropriate, and that's understandable. Anyone can disagree. We've now reversed feel and met not only the law, but the law as your staff currently interprets it, to the point that staff makes no comment. The suggestion of tabling this case for 1 month is not only, in my view, a bad idea, it's terribly naive. even if the task force were to make a recommendation at their meeting next month, they only make a recommendation to the council, and then legislation has to go through the legislative process. My guess would be that if new legislation is ever adopted, it's going to be at least 4, 5, or 6 months from right now. How do we tell a landowner in our parish that wishes to move forward with a project that's been out in the public domain for a long time, that's redesigned the project and met the requirements of the code under the careful review of staff, that you should wait and see what the committee might recommend? I'm by no means chiding the committee. I'm actually an alternate member on the committee. I have not sat as a committee member. I had conflicts, although I attended last night's meeting. So I don't want my comments to be viewed as disdain toward the committee. I think their work is good and it's needed and it's necessary. But I also think for projects that are in the pipeline and are trying to comply with the law, we should have the opportunity to do so. Dr. Martin's comments about Cozy Lane are the same comments that you've heard at zoning and at tentative. Cozy Lane is the street that is to the west side of the subdivision, and there is no impediment that we create as it relates to the configuration of our lots. So with all due respect, I mean, I just think that is a non-issue. I would also say that the suggestion that private servitudes to the rear of people's yards don't work and that it's going to impose an unfair burden on them, whether it's a cost or by administration of the homeowners association, these are 115-foot deep lots. So the proposition is essentially a 30-foot public servitude versus a 10-foot private drainage servitude. I don't believe we're compromising anything by doing that. We have many subdivisions throughout the parish that have private drainage networks. Granted, this is only as it relates to the rear drainage servitudes. But to suggest that the system's going to fail for that reason, I just don't think is fair. I'm as sensitive to the flooding issue as anyone, even though I don't live in the Goodby community. I've not only handled developments there, but I mean, I'm a lifelong resident. I recognize it and understand it. But there's nothing in this plan that is suggestive that we are being disrespectful in any way to the ordinance or to our neighbors in terms of causing harm to them. I think if so, you would have seen it in red in the staff comments. The comment about our failure to have all permits in hand, that is not unusual at the time of preliminary. We understand that our work order will be limited until we procure and produce those permits. So I'm going to wrap up by saying that I go back to where we started. We had about 170 lots, and we now have 66. We have 75 acres, 40 of which are preserved wetland green open space. We have shown you an alternate plan this evening that doesn't deprive the public from an opportunity to see what's going on there. We tried to improve the situation, make it safer, make it more convenient. So we would ask that you grant preliminary subdivision approval, allow us to have rear private drainage servitudes to the lots, and grant the waiver as to items 4 and 5 pursuant to the alternate option that's shown you on page 4 of the handout. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Rebuttal time? Whoever wants to speak next?
Yes, once again, the reason there was a delay was not wanting to comply. There was a question about whether the ordinance should be interpreted strictly or whether it could be interpreted a little looser that would allow it to be easier for developers to develop in wetlands. And the decision so far that we're making is that this ordinance needs to be interpreted very strictly to protect the people that are going to build there. And we aren't finished with this. We think we're going to be finished. I think we pretty much have the ordinance where we need the ordinance, and it is to be interpreted very strictly And I think, as Jeff was saying, they reduced it, and I think they reduced it because the writing was on the wall, that this ordinance was going to be interpreted strictly, and therefore, the reduction from the homes. No developer gives up 100 homes. You know, that's a lot of money. So they don't give up 100 homes unless somebody's twisting their arm. And, you know, it's been a good process. I've enjoyed the work group that we're on. And I think that twisted the arm a little bit, and they're down. But I'm not sure that we should approve this before the work group has a chance to finish what it's doing, and we look at building homes in wetlands. This is Zone A, Jeff? Zone A? Yes. So we're not talking about Zone B or C. We wouldn't even be here. This ordinance is great for somebody that lives on a hill in Folsom. It's not great for somebody that lives in a wetland. So we're working. And we may need to work further than this particular ordinance to get it right for the people that are going to move here into St. Tammany Parish. To approve something and let this go through, and the next flood hits, it's Zone A. I'm in Zone B. I've flooded 3 times since 2016. You know, it's not fair to the people that are moving there. Ask the people on McGee. McGee Butts is right north of them. South of them. McGee is right south of them. Every home on McGee that was on slab flooded. The ones that didn't were built on elevated foundations. So we need a lot to think about here, how this is going to be built. This is a flood zone. You know, there's no rush on this. It's been 6 months. You know, if it takes another 6 months to do it right and people don't get hurt, it's worth it, okay? It's worth it for the future citizens that are going to be there. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I did want to tell Mr. Shane, I do appreciate the reduction number of houses and conforming to the fill mitigation, but that's not the whole story for floodplains. Fill blocks the flow, and when it blocks the flow, the water rises in order to get the energy to go around that fill, which is why FEMA requires a study. In the past, I haven't brought this up because most of the subdivisions were on the fringes of the flood zone. This one's not. This one's dead in the middle of the floodway. And this needs to be studied so that that floodwater does not increase the heights on McGee Road or on Ted Taylor Ranch Road as it goes around this fill. Very necessary. Also, by not enforcing FEMA rules, you stand the chance of having sanctions from FEMA. Maybe no new flood insurance, maybe losing some of the percentage of the reduction we get for having higher standards. This is a requirement by the federal government and a requirement of the parish ordinances. And I have brought this up with Sydney and Mr. Watson here, and they told me they'd look into it. I tried to bring it up back in the fall, the last time we had this meeting, and I was summarily dismissed on this one topic by the panel. It said, we don't want to hear about this right now. I did get my certification as a floodplain manager. I've studied this in depth. So, also on the private servitudes, it is a parish ordinance that they be dedicated to the parish.
Mr. Allen, you've had your 5 minutes rebuttal, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. And just to finish off, that is part of the parish ordinances, and it is public safety that's at risk here.
Thank you. With that being said, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Doherty.
For legal. Mr. Shane presented to the commission an alternate option tonight. First time we've seen it, first time staff's seen it. My question to you is, is it appropriate that we deal with this or deal with what we had in our packet?
Well, according to procedure, we should deal with what we had in our packet. Legal may want to add some information to that. List from legal. Yes.
Yeah, I might ask Planning and Development to help me out because I don't see what's in y'all's full packet before. So I'm not really sure what the difference between the alternate and what was presented. I've got it in front of me.
Okay, if you look at the third sheet, or the fourth sheet, in the alternate option, they extended lot 19 to go beyond the right-of-way, and also on lot 41. So instead of the right-of-way extending beyond those lots, the lots have now been extended to go past the right-of-way.
Just those two small corrections,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir. As best I can tell, under quick review.
So I kind of defer to development staff on whether you think that you need more time to review this or whether you think they have the information in front of them that they need to make these approvals.
So specifically on lot 19, we're still not in favor of this, as lot 19 has a drainage structure that passes right through it in the new proposed layout. They've got a outfall pipe for everything on Goodby Preserve Lane and along Cozy Lane that passes through the proposed extension of lot 19. So we'd have to see additional plans to see how they plan to incorporate that into the design.
So do you think that it may change your staff comments?
It has potential to, yes.
Okay, do y'all have your answer?
Yes.
Okay.
We have the answer. Commissioner Doherty.
So it appears to me, Mr. Shane, and I'm not trying to delay this by any means, but I think staff and your engineer needs to have some discussion, and it's not appropriate to have it tonight. So I'm going to put a motion on the floor to postpone this for 1 month. And if we get a second and vote in favor of postponing, it's postponed. If not, then we proceed.
I have a motion to postpone the case by Commissioner Doherty. Commissioner Randolph.
It's okay. Just to make sure that I have things in chronological order and understand the actual interjection of other elements. This has come before us since June of last year. Recently, I got some memorandum or letter concerning Ordinance 6066. Now, Dr. Martin referred to that, and he's on that committee. My question is this project that we've had since June, has this ordinance been in place since that time?
No.
Okay.
They're working on changing the ordinance is what's happening now.
Okay.
That's all. It has not passed. The new field ordinance has not passed. This is based on the current ordinance for St. Tammany.
Okay.
And according to the staff, it meets the current ordinance is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. My second question is, might I?
Yeah, you still can.
My second question is concerning the extension of the lots. I have 19, but I also have 18 and 20. Lots 18, 20, and 19. I may have missed something, but was there any specific information shared about lots 18 and 20?
Are you addressing Mr. Shane?
I guess. Yes, sir. Mr. Shane?
Mr. Shane, please come up and.
In your dissertation, you had, you referred to lots 18, 19, and 20. And I do have extension for 19, but I don't have any comments for 18 and 19, and 20. Did I just hear something?
You heard me misstate, probably 18 should not have been in the conversation.
Okay, what about 20?
20 should be in the conversation.
Oh, because those were one of
it's
the,
now-
one of the 9 for the waivers.
Well, and also it's got a new orientation now. If you'll compare the first sheet of that 4-page packet, and you'll see lots
Yeah.
21 and 20.
Yes,
In
okay.
other words, we've kind of renumbered and reconfigured.
Okay. They moved
So
horizontal.
I was only trying to suggest that that area had been redesigned, but I think you're
Gotcha.
right. I don't think 18 has moved.
Okay, all right. Those are my questions, Mr.
Okay.
Chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a recap, let's give credit where credit's due. The developer, for whatever reason, whether he was coerced or he was intimidated or whatever the reason may be, he's reduced it by the number of lots significantly, which makes it much more palatable than it would have been to start with. I have a problem with 4 and 5 under the general comments. If we're gonna say the staff has supported this, and then we turn around and say, well, where the staff doesn't support it, let's waiver that. There's a reason why number 4 and number 5 are in the rules, and I have a problem not just with this development, but for instance, if we look at this one where we say under 5 on the dead ends, we're gonna waive that. If we waive it on this subdivision, and then John Martin comes along and he wants to put in a development, how do we say no to him if we say yes to this one? I have a problem where we have restrictions on the side backs, restrictions on the front and back, restrictions on servitudes, restrictions on drainage, restrictions on a book that thick. And then we start saying, well, but let's waive this one. Personally, I have a real problem with 4 and 5. So I'm gonna second Dave's motion. And I would request that if it is postponed, that you all look at a way that we don't have to waive all the rules to get something passed. If that's the case, why have rules? That's my comments. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Willie.
Mr. Shane, I have a couple of questions. Yeah, drainage is very important to me here in this area. The homes, you know, if this passes as is, the homes are on slab or they're gonna be raised?
Slab.
Slab. All right. One of the opposition that spoke tonight mentioned about a FEMA requirement about fill and water control study. You didn't address that in your rebuttal. What's your feelings on that?
My feelings are that the requirements of St. Tammany Parish as it relates to preliminary subdivision approval have been satisfied, subject to the comments of staff. I mean, I understand that there's some comments there to the contrary, but I don't get into the world of what-ifs and philosophies and wishes. I believe that maybe much along the lines that Commissioner Loren just discussed, I mean, we work within rules. That's our job. We might disagree with regard to interpretation or extent of rule, I do believe that there are circumstances that bodies should consider exceptions or waivers to rules, because not every circumstance is the same. But to answer your specific question, I don't have a specific response to his comments, in that I don't believe they're appropriate as it relates to me meeting the preliminary subdivision requirements for St. Tammany Parish.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to have a question, ask the same question of staff then. He mentioned about FEMA having a regulation, and that our parish ordinance had a regulation. Well, I'm not familiar with it. What part of the process is that supposed to take effect?
So part of the subdivision process for preliminary submittal is they provide a hydrologic analysis where they evaluate the impacts of this development for 10-year, 25-year, 50-year, and 100-year storm event.
And also the anticipated development too, I think that was
Correct.
mentioned.
And when they do it, they do the analysis for it. They compare it to what's currently there as far as the existing ground, whether it's wooded or marsh, and then they use their different values in their formulas and everything to represent the existing conditions and the proposed conditions. They determine the amount of rainfall runoff that would come off the site once it was built out. And they do a model to demonstrate the impact it would have, or how much water or the flow rates. And our ordinance specifically looks at the flow rate coming off the site. And that's where we require the 25% reduction for a 100-year storm.
Okay, so this study that you was mentioning, that's supposed to be done before preliminary or after preliminary, or?
Well, no, that's part of the preliminary approval. So if you look at comment number 14, I believe it is, or 15, that comment is in regards to that study. The DIS is the drainage impact study that the design engineer for the developer provides to staff to review and comment on.
So his design would have to meet that study?
Correct.
And before y'all's approval as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
No, the floor is closed. Commissioner Richard. No, the floor is closed. Commissioner
Thank you, Mr.
Richard.
Chair. I also want to echo that I do appreciate that this, a lot of effort's been put out, and that, put forth, should I say, and that the subdivision has been reduced, the number of lots been reduced, and great efforts have been made. I do want to say that I'm not super excited about receiving these plans tonight. We did our work based on the plans we had. Our staff did the work based on the plans we have. And I think I understand what you're doing, and it is an improvement. That being said, the staff has made some comments that their thoughts would have changed had they had this, in ample time. So we have a motion and a second, and based on the fact that I know how Mr. Lauren feels about the waivers, and I feel that way about the waivers in general, although I will echo what Mr. Shane said. There are times when waivers are appropriate. I mean, we can't fit everything inside that box. But based on the fact that we need 8 to have it passed, and there's only 8 of us up here this evening, I think it's probably a good idea that this matter is postponed for 1 month. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any more discussion? If not, I have a motion by Commissioner Doherty to postpone for 1 month. Commissioner Doherty, 1 month. And a second by Commissioner Lauren. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, now we go into final subdivision review. 2019-1385 FP Alexander Ridge, Phase 3B and 3C. Developer owner is Savannah's Community, LLC. Engineers, Kyle Associates. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable David Fitzgerald. Its location is east of LA Highway 1081, south of Smith Road, Covington, Ward 3, District 3. Staff?
Yes, sir. Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on February 27th, 2019. The inspection disclosed that all the concrete roads are constructed and road shoulders are constructed and the curb and gutter is functioning. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of the final inspection and will be completed before the plats are signed. Number 1, blue reflectors are needed. 2, fire hydrants need to be raised to provide proper clearance. 3, revise the municipal address for lot number 100 to state 593. 4, provide green space calculations for phase 3B and 3C on the final plat. 5, remove the preliminary stamp from the final plat and provide professional seal, signature, and date. 6, numerous property lines and building setbacks overlap and conflict with the required drainage servitudes. Revise the final plat to limit these conflicts. 7, revise the final plat to reflect all required drainage servitudes shown on the as-built paving and drainage plan. 8, remove the drainage structure information required for phase 3D from the as-built drainage plan. 9, revise the as-built paving and drainage plan to show the swale behind lots 116 through 124 required by the approved drainage plan. 10, lots that drain to the rear green space need to show direction of drainage in the green space with elevations showing positive flow. 11, show the sewer service connection for lot number 109. 12, a sewer treatment plan expansion for Terra Maria is currently being permitted. Written verification from the utility owner needs to be provided stating that the current facility has sufficient sewer capacity to handle the lots in phase 3B and 3C of Alexander Ridge. 13, show the water service connections for lots 101, 102, 108, 143, 144, and 145. 14, a negative bacteriological report relative to the construction of the project's water system has not been issued by LDH as required. 15, a letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer system has not been issued by the utility provider as required. Informational items. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 1,700 linear feet at $25 per linear foot for a total of $42,500 for a period of 1 year. The staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with all comments and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. No mandatory development fees are required this time since the developer has entered into a voluntary developmental agreement in accordance with Ordinance 98-2841. This subdivision is not within the urban growth boundary line. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the March 12, 2019 Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone on behalf of Savannah's Community LLC with regards to Alexander Ridge Phases 3B and 3C. I'd like to walk through some of the comments. I can tell you at the outstart that all of the items on the list have been addressed. And I'll give you a bit more information on the more substantive items as I walk through. The only 2 items on the list that required any field work were items 1 and 2, which was the installation of the blue reflectors and the raising of the fire hydrants. Both of these items have been completed and are done as I stand here this evening. With regards to the items under the final plat comments, we will concur with all of those. The only one that perhaps could suggest some substance would be item number 6 with regards to the overlapping between the property lines, the building setbacks, and the drainage servitudes. Our engineer has reviewed that, has talked with Mr. Tissue, and that this comment really can be addressed simply by some revisions on the plat. It's internal work, and it's cleaning up the lines so that they're more clear, as opposed to a substantive problem with any overlap on these items. All of the paving and drainage plan comments are just addressing items on the plat, which we will comply with. With regards to the sewer plan, item number 12, the letter from Utilities, Inc. of Louisiana confirming that the existing plant has capacity for 3B and 3C has been provided to your staff. With regards to the water plan, item 14, the negative bacteriological report has been received and has been provided. Number 15, the letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance of the water system has been received and provided from Lee Road Water Corporation. Likewise, with regards to the sewer system, Utilities, Inc. of Louisiana has issued a letter accepting the maintenance of that system as well. So all items of any substance have been addressed. The only items that remain are a few revisions to the plat that our engineer and surveyor are prepared to make pending the outcome of the meeting this evening. So we would respectfully request your approval, subject to all of the staff comments.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Any information from the public on approval? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir.
The cooperation or communication, if you will, between staff and your engineers, is that to satisfy item 6, 8, 9, and 10?
The discussion really was with regards to 6, just to make sure that there wasn't a substantive problem with the conflicts that were noted there. All of the other items you mentioned, we have no problem with. There was no need to discuss it with staff. We will comply with the comments as written.
Okay, Mr. Chair, with that in mind, I make a motion to accept the final subdivision review.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Commissioner Willie.
Got a question. It says Council District 3, is that correct? It is? Way over there on Smith Road?
No, I think it's 2, actually. It's
2.
2.
Right?
Yeah.
Thought so. Thanks.
Any more discussion? I have a motion to approve final subdivision by Commissioner Randolph and a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Case 2019-1390 FP. Beatico Creek Parcel 7, developer owner is Beatico Creek Preserve LLC, engineer is Kelly McHugh and Associates, Parish Council District Representative Honorable Marty Dean. Location is northwest of Highway 1085, south of Interstate 12, Madisonville, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The final inspection was made on February 27th, 2019. The inspection disclosed that all the concrete roads, road shoulders, and the roadside ditches were constructed under a previous phase. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of the final inspection and will be completed before the plats are signed. Number 1, the water well site's address needs to be revised to state 1086 as per comment from 911 addressing. And number 2, the green space acreage for this phase needs to be added to the final plat. Informational items. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, no warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure since the infrastructure was constructed during a previous phase and is currently under warranty. No mandatory developmental fees are required since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. This subdivision is within the urban growth boundary line. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the March 12th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Again, Paul Morone on behalf of Beatico Creek Preserve LLC with regards to Parcel 7, which is a relatively small portion of Beatico Creek. Only have the 2 plat comments. Obviously, we will comply with those pending your decision this evening, but we respectfully request your approval for final for Parcel 7 of Beatico Creek.
Thank you. Any comments from the public? If not, Commissioner Lauren.
Paul, it's obvious that Beatico Creek operates with a different business plan in terms of getting their paperwork submitted promptly and completely. And I'd like to compliment them on doing it. This is the way we would like to see a final plan. I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Lauren. Commissioner Randolph.
Ditto and second.
Ditto and second by Commissioner Randolph. Any more discussion? Please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, amendments to Charter 125 subdivision regulations, none. Any old business? Any new business? Motion to adjourn?